AI for HR is our minion. But in another hand, I've been seeing some of the companies cutting down 1,000 over people overnight because of the AI. It's not just few paragraphs written in the annual report that is called you executed. You have to really come up with a plan, time, and also with your KPIs to measure it. For HR, we play a vital role in the social. You have to ensure that each important key roles in the organization, you have respective succession planning in place. The CTO could be like enhance the AI from their perspective, but they should know more than the CTO to support the business smartly and efficiently. Why not just do the best that as a good employer as you can, even as the last moment you want to terminate this employee. The boss can do all the things by themselves. Rather than they trust other, they should be in the business control department. We are putting food on the table for all families of our employees. If we don't release the payroll in time, some of the employees' family may have trouble. This is something that makes us important.
Funnily enough, I just hung up with Dr. Fermin Diaz. I was asking him to tell me about companies that he admires in the region. I'm always trying to see who we can look up to. And he spoke about ByteDance, and you were there. Great segue. So tell me about that culture and that HR department. We won't talk about only them. I think you have a crazy career. Yeah, maybe if you can tell me about your experience there, and do you think it's right? Should we study ByteDance?
To be frank with you, when ByteDance, or we call TikTok outside China, when they approached me, when the time I was in Facebook, I just joined Facebook for a year at a time when they approached me. It took me a while to consider to join TikTok or ByteDance. And also took me a while to understand about this company, what they are like really moving forward, what are the goals and their visions, missions, because to me, it's a very new company. But although that I remember I saw their logo in Facebook, yeah, because during the time, a lot of companies will advertise in Facebook platform. So that's how I know a little bit about ByteDance. But of course, as an outsider, I believe yourself also will be confused. Why ByteDance? Why sometimes called TikTok? Why when we put up the interview or the recruitment advertisement, that is sometimes the same role but got called in part in TikTok, sometimes part in ByteDance. All other companies, actually, we are part of ByteDance. Yeah, ByteDance is the HQ. And TikTok actually is one of the brand that's the short video filming brand that called TikTok outside China. And in China itself, it is called Douyin. But you will look at it, is almost like same look and feel. Yeah, the two apps. Yeah, but we segregated very clearly outside China called TikTok. So when I was hired in TikTok, that frankly speaking, it is the fastest speed and pace company compared to all other companies that I worked before. Because especially that during COVID-19, that lockdown, the growth of the company for some of the locations can be as huge as like 100% to even more than 400%. There's a time I think a lot of people staying at home that they really do a lot of filming and recording themselves and then post it to TikTok.
Yeah,
sure. So being working in the HR operations, right, we also have to catch up the pace. You have to imagine that the talent team have to hire, easily few hundred people per month and onboard few hundred people per month per location. It's not talking about one region, so it's per location. And also, fortunately, almost all the locations that also with the heavy loaded hiring during the time. And especially for continuous for 6 months, we need to hire a lot of content moderators, those that working in the trust and security team to screen through all the films, to make sure all the clips that before going out is comply with the local legislation. Yeah, so can you imagine we are from that time is not so called like as huge, as big as Facebook, but can grow that with so many 100% in a very short time, just about 5-6 months time. The kind of collaboration among all the colleagues really, I would say, is really great. Tremendously that we all work as a team, regardless which location, even though we can't see each other physically. Yeah, we all work from home. Yeah, and we all with different time zone, but we also can come along. Especially for operations, we also find ways to shorten all the onboarding processes because we onboard few hundred people over a Zoom. Even the Zoom also with not enough space to host like one whole page with all the faces of people. It's
Oh
like
my
few
God.
pages. Yeah, and also we have to think about how fast, how the speed that we can allocate desktop or even MacBook or even to like Windows, whatever Lenovo PC to all the employees all over the places in time.
How do you do this? How do you scale that fast without breaking?
This one is really, I will talk about like it's more the effort of and also the connection of technical team with all the different providers to really supply the notebook, the desktop to us on time. And gratefully, that time that we also got a lot of those companies like Grab, Foodpanda, whatever, we can use them to help us to distribute the respective hardware to the employee's home. And in Malaysia itself, as you are in Malaysia, we are not only having one state, we got so many states all over the places. That part is really, can make it a big success is really true that all the connection, all the collaboration with all our service providers. And also the collaboration apart from like distribution of hardware, how to find so many people within a short time frame. Also have to through the HR networks that contact with other HR like traveling company, airlines that we know that they are having challenges during the time that they got laid off. So we just have to contact them and get the CVs from them. That's how that we can speed up the entire recruitment process. Yeah, for us that allow us to hire people faster. And talking about onboarding is a challenge also. You have to imagine you have to teach 100 over to 200 people over a one onboarding session to teach them how to set up their notebook, their desktop. Yeah, within a day or within hours. So all those that also through a lot of enhancement and with open communication and feedback, how we can further improve. Yeah, so everybody, I would say that you couldn't believe that everybody is work like so collaboratively, cohesively in the same direction is to support the business right now and try to like make it happen and without flaw. Everybody only got one objective, just make it happen.
How do you get this culture to work? Like, how do you get everyone to work in that direction with that much pressure, that all the difficulty of logistics? How do you explain, that it worked and it didn't crash or that those regions were not successful?
At first, I was in the Southeast Asia, that region. What that we really work on is like all the leaders, especially with like, was working very closely with other stakeholders. So all of us only got one objective and we also will cover each other back. Because knowing that it's a new startup, especially during the time it's a new startup, we don't have a lot of clear documentations, process flow. It's all through all the leaders itself, especially in Singapore and Malaysia. We work it up. We are holding like each other hands to make it happen. It's all really true, I would say, really teamwork. Yeah, if you ask me how, there's no methodology, but it's really come out from your heart during the time that everybody had to jump in to play a part to make it happen. It's hardly to see a company grow so fast within a short time frame. And especially in a very special situation that is like lockdown. You can't see each other. Yeah, you only can call or even message each other. Especially everybody also have tons of work, to do. So we work long hours, even though because some of the locations with different time zone, we also have to accommodate to their time zone as well. Yeah.
Okay, so you knew growth because I saw you started as a director of BPO services and solutions a long time ago, and you grew the team quite a bit, right? From 3 to 100 in 4 years. So the percentage rate were quite high, but it's a different story at TikTok, it seems. For the people listening to us, can you tell me a bit about what you do these days and how you introduce yourself? Usually, because you do many things. Like just now, I think you have 5 or 6 roles in the community.
Yeah, actually, currently, I'm the president and also the founder of a company called BGlow Consultancy. B actually is take up from my name, Becky. I take B. And Glow, actually, my Chinese name is Ga Yin Lo. So I put GLOW, my surname. So it's called B Glow Consultancy. This consultancy is the same that I'm doing the HR consultancy from hiring to retiring. Yeah, supporting companies in terms for their operations and also forming of policies. And they want to have like process improvement. I will also look into it and help companies to set up HR shared service center. That's my forte because I set up the very first payroll shared service center for Huawei 16 years ago as the first Chinese company with payroll shared service center outside China. That is something can host like more than 100 countries' payroll. Also, beside that, I also work collaboratively with some of the payroll software partners to help them because some of my clients, I'm providing only services, but some clients may want to like implement a payroll system internally, or they might want to have like payroll outsourcing services. So I will be the bridge to introduce them to all the respective different partners that I have. Then we will I could be the PMO to manage the entire project implementation for clients. This is what I'm doing. Anything to do with HR, I'm doing at the moment. Yeah.
Got it. You're also part of G100. You're at university. So you're a board member, and you also, I saw you were the Secretary General for the Malaysian Independent Non-Executive Director Association. Hard to do for a French. It's lots of English words. But so tell me about the other activities you do.
Apart from doing business, I would say this is the time that I really have my me time. Yeah, not working 18 hours or 24 hours per day, that to contribute back to the community. So for G100 actually is a pro bono. The rest of the 3 roles that you mentioned just now are pro bono. So for G100 is I would say, a group of ladies, and also we do have men also in our G100, so our allies to support us to build the economy for all the, I would say that women, that to teach them how to grow their business, that also to expand their business, to make them be more confident in seeking. Sometimes you need to get funding to run your business. So that's what we did. And recently in end of June, we also conducted Women Economic Forum in KL. It's a 3-day event that we attracted almost 600 guests and that cover about more than 35 countries. Yeah, all over the places. Because G100, when you say 100, we got more approaching 100 locations. Everybody flying in to support each other. And we also come up with a lot of our ideas, our proposals that we also wrap it up and summarize it. And we work with a local university in Malaysia to submit this proposal to our minister. Yeah, to let them to take a look of what that had been proposed, had been discussed in this forum by all the participants for the 3-day event. So we are keep on doing all this to elevate the economy for women for G100. And then in the advisory board of UUM is a Northern University in Malaysia. So this is also the university that where I graduated and got my doctorate in business administration. That is to really very much that to elevate the education program, then and also to enhance those professional program, executive programs in terms MBA. We also got DBA for all the professionals. And also we'll look for those which are those target groups that we should approach them to get them to sign up and also get them as a program that to give as a learning and development program for their executives. Then for the Secretary General for Malaysia Independent Non-Executive Director Association, in short we call MINET. So this is an association that currently I'm very active with. Yeah. And we are going to have our installation night on next Tuesday, 9th of September, in Royal Selangor Club, Malaysia. This is an association we are providing the knowledge in terms of corporate governance And also we will be working collaboratively with some of the institution and even with other association like Asia INET, Hong Kong INET, and Japan, Taiwan, even Vietnam, to make it like more corporate governance, more ESG-based association, that to ensure that all the public listed companies, they are like comply in all these regulated policies or the like execution of the respective country. Just to tighten it up, if you're based in Malaysia recently, you also heard of some of the corporate governance issues. Yeah. So that's where that we want to really like build the awareness and also strengthen, the policies. Very important is to make sure whoever in this like INET role, they know that how to take care of the corporate governance itself, how to execute your ESG. What is the E, what is the S, and what is the G, that you have to make sure all that balance up and happen. It's not like just few paragraphs written in the annual report that is called you executed. That's not. You have to like really come up with a plan, time, and also with your KPIs to measure it.
I was looking at your career in HR. You've been doing loads of bigger system and process implementations or management. And there was one bit about HR transformation and implementation. So what's the entire scope of what you do in HR? You said you were doing everything. I see it's very heavy on the payroll side and the people finance side. What's your favorite area and what do you focus on usually?
Talking about HR transformation, I would say is actually got many folds here. When I was with Forces Groups, that the HR transformation is more on really work on the full spectrum. First of all, we work with finance to core up the baseline. The baseline means that the cost of running of each department. Like, for instance, how much we spend for learning and development, how much we spend on talent acquisition, maybe the compensation and benefits, so on and so forth. Once we get all this baseline right, we will also leverage that with the McKinsey's score analysis to identify which are the process that we can do without, or we should drop it, or we should outsource it, or we should enhance it. So from there that you will come up with a lot of proposals. Some of could be the training we need to drop, or some of the training we should tighten up. Like instead of like one person join the training, 3-4 times the same training for a year, we should have like a system to track on it that one person only like 1 year or 2 years once to join the same training. We identify all those, and also some of the department could be like too many headcounts. Then we have to look at it, how to right size that respective department. Yeah, we do have a figure to achieve. We can look into the proposal, the proposed transformation could be enhance the system to make it more efficient, robust, to track all those like whatever we want to do. Or the payroll, should it be like running decentralized everywhere, all the locations, or we should propose it to centralize it, or even the best way is to outsource it. Rather, we keep like having like 30 headcounts, but just for a small payroll, or maybe like 20 over people just to take care of one location. So that's a part of the HR transformation. Is more on like higher level that come up with proposal, and of course the end of the day, the proposal will come out with the enhancement area. Could be some through system, some through processes, some through manage the headcounts. So it's people, process, and technology as well. But that is in one of the food and beverage company that I work with. Another, like those technology company, the HR transformation is really mega scale. That's talking about forming the global HR SSC. For instance, like one of the company I work with, to form the HR SSC, that I need to speak to 300 over HR BPs and 7 global process owners, because we have to talk about like to get the hiring to retiring processes, 7 big processes to put in the HR SSC. But how to identify what to put in your HR SSC, and also to get the consent of other process owner to allow you to run their operations. So you need to like work on that, the phases, the scope, the plans, how do we like do all the data integration from one stakeholder to another stakeholder and also to my downstream is finance. So all those that when I do the analysis proposal for all this big scale is also I analyze in terms of people. Yeah, whether some of the current COEs, HRBP can be part of the HR SSC people or analysts or not, executive or not. Yeah. So we have to analyze, can we take on their people? And also, do we have the robust system to take care of all these processes? The talent acquisition, operations, onboarding operations, leave, time and attendance operations, payroll, so on and so forth. Then how do we transfer our data end of the day to finance for their bookkeeping purposes? So all those that is really mega. That's what I did. It's not like only talking about like paper-wise, but also you need to ensure execution by phases and also come up with KPIs and also reports to the respective process owners as well. Yeah, it's vast.
I see that. How do you divide your time between, let's say, workforce administration, so payroll, time and attendance, claims, all the different aspects of administration, performance management, so getting the OKRs cascaded down from the corporate strategy, central group corporate strategy, to everyone having OKRs and being coached towards those OKRs? That would be the second area. And then the third area, maybe talent engagement, making sure that people have the right programs for wellness, for happiness at work. If I simplify it, connections between colleagues, all these different aspects. How do you prioritize all these different aspects of HR?
Very good question. Actually, running the operations wise, right, it's very important is to identify everyone know about the OKR, especially that in one of the tech company, at first we do have OKR every 2 months. So the OKR is really started from the founder, the CEO. From there is cascaded down to all the -1, -2, and let's say to myself. So I will also further that pick up like which are applicable to my respective operations, let's say payroll operations. Then I will also pass down to my -1, -2, that everybody, right, they're very clear. And in terms of a very robust OKR system, that everyone will be able to see each other's OKRs. And you can also update your OKR in real time and other people can get to see. And along that, the process sometimes that the planning could be like we have some like modification because the prioritization could be different. So we also can like make the adjustment and the respective owners of that or the stakeholders of the respective OKR will be notified. This has been changed. Yeah, and then they can go in and also like to approve it or not to approve it. We work like I would say in this manner, the OKR part is very much that we rely on the tech. Yeah, must have a very robust system to make it everybody know. So for this part, actually, every month we could be like spending 5 to 10% of our time to work on it. And then remaining, that will be like more on that we will have like different levels of discussion with a team. Could be one-on-one with a team, skip level, or even different department meeting. So to discuss all the OKRs and update the OKR together as well. Then later only we move on to our operations. The planning stage and the communication, collaboration among teams, that will take up about like 15% of our time because we are talking about working as a team. The rest of the execution, the real operations is only 50%.
And so you've been in many companies now doing HR, and then I'm not even counting the clients because we don't see the clients. We just see the ones that you've worked at. So that's a lot of companies. Do you have a blueprint that you've built over the years that now you reuse, or do you do something for every company that is very custom?
For all the companies are really customized because especially like, I can't use whatever blueprint or the methodology I've been using Huawei, that when I built Huawei 16 years ago, and apply it in TikTok that 16 years after that. And especially that both are having different business and the pay is also different. But one thing that really the same is like could be the methodology, like the high level methodology. Let's say I'm taking care of payroll. I will make sure that each country will capture the blueprint of the nature of how that each pay elements being calculated. Let's say we started with one of the outsourcing company called Vsauce, then move to Huawei and even TikTok. I also ensure all team members will capture the respective countries' blueprint, like basic salary, how to calculate. And let's say back pay, how to calculate. Whether is it taxable, EPFable, contribute to social security or not. Yeah, all that will put down very clearly. And also will give some example of calculations. And end of the day, once they finish all these pay elements, also will wrap up with the pay element matrix that is very easily for IT. When they pick it up, they can configure into the system. And this is also part of the transition of knowledge. If let's say that someone working for Malaysia payroll, after 2 years, they would like to work in Singapore payroll, can easily just go in and take up the Singapore blueprint, can pick it up, and then they can learn and even start to do the calculation and do all the respective system, the statutory reporting and submission. So this part is really that I would say, regardless which company that I work with, is so applicable. Is like really retain the knowledge. And also if along the way we have any new pay elements, and also easily for the team to update that this is a new change. And then how do we communicate to all the respective employees being affected or department being affected? Besides that, I will also ensure, especially when we are working with HR, we have to make sure we are always compliant. So I also set up a compliant unit. So whereby this unit is the one that will gather all the different locations update. And then they will also confirm with Big Four and cascade it down this piece of knowledge to the respective team members of the respective location. What are the new updates and how do they also have to work with IT team to make sure they configure it correctly. Yeah, and compliance like change of reports format or minimum wages change. So how do we improve our validation tools to call out the threshold that which employees is under minimum wages, that we have to really highlight and work with common man team to increase or adjust the salary accordingly. All this, I will say, these two things is always bring along with me. Develop the blueprint, set up a compliant unit. The rest of implementation methodology is really depends whether the company is outsourcing model or they use the system model. All those will be we can plan accordingly. That if outsourcing is a vendor management, how we work with the vendor, whether we have to streamline to have one vendor or we have to different locations, different vendor, or we need to have a standardized system. If you want to go for a standardized system, do we have our ERP? Our data management system is a standardized one. If you don't have, we have to do an data integration project to build a middleware that to consolidate all data before going into other systems to run the processing. This is something that I'm always work with. That's why I'm quite hands-on also in terms of implementation.
What led you to do what you do? Why HR and why you basically develop architecting systems, right? Why this interest in this? And you kept doubling down your entire career in that field. What makes you like this and be strong at it?
My passion. Yeah, if you ask me all the full spectrum of HR, in fact, I find that C&B and also the payroll is really interesting because it needs a lot of knowledge in terms of understanding the country legislation. And then you also have to be very creatively to apply it. And especially for different offer to the employee, could be when you tied it with the local statutory, could be different. Yeah, Matt's your payroll and my payroll, even though in Malaysia, could be different because I'm a local, you're a foreigner. So the contribution to certain provident fund is different calculation again. Whether you stay in a country more than 180 days or not, also will affect your taxation. I find that it's a very interesting logical thinking plus complex maths that combine that make it happen at the end. The net pay is correct and you see the smile in the employee's face. That's something that I find that so fulfillment. And I really like this kind of architecture that to turn the legislative or the regulation into the system and be able to capture in all different environments. And you still derive all the correct calculations. I believe in Brio, you're working on payroll system. You'll find that this is something so amazing. Yeah, that is something that made me really like it. And personally, that this is what I always share with my team members. Because of course, sometimes when we work in HR, especially in payroll, when you run the payroll correctly for employees, 364 days all correct. But only one day, the 365th day, you make a mistake, people will remember it for life. And the 364 days, they will thank you, Oh, thank you, payroll, for paying me correctly, No. Yeah, so what that to motivate the team, I always tell them, this is a very meaningful job because we are putting food on the table for all families of our employees. Yeah, if we don't release the payroll in time, some of the employees' family may have trouble. So this is something that make us important. Have to calculate correctly, timely. That's what we have to do.
What are the big trends that are impacting you in HR at the moment? What are the top of mind topics these days?
Nowadays, is especially some of the countries in this region, they may have change of regulations, like minimum wages in the middle of the month. They're not will inform you few months before, and it will be normally started on the first day of next year or of all their financial year or the tax year. They will suddenly start in between. And the challenge of the company will be, can you imagine you hire someone 6 months ago, fulfilling the first level of the minimum wages, the old minimum wages. Suddenly after that, the comes in July, the minimum wages could be increased by few percent. So you have to without confirming this guy, you have to adjust the salary to higher salary. And can you imagine this person already worked for you for 6 months and someone only joined in July, both of them getting the same salary. So this is a challenge in terms not really healthy for HR, especially for HR professional, when you want to manage all these changes due to regulations. And part of it also apart from that is sometimes it could be the economy or geopolitical will affect certain countries that you might have sudden let go of employees. That's something that a challenge that you never really could anticipate. Overnight, you have to handle all the final pay of a few thousand employees. That's why I always say that in HR, we do need to have very robust system and keep on enhancing in automation for all the processes, because you never know which day that you need to have bulk processing that you could be not able to anticipate. Yeah.
Got it. Any other trends that you see?
If for Asia Pac, it's not so, I would say. As and when that you will know roughly the same changing in terms of tax percentage, minimum wages. But it's more on those maybe geopolitical and economy will be the one that is more given us a surprise. Of course, that now the tariff also, it could be one of the impact to corporates, because it becomes that revenue is really affected. Yeah, some it could be last time we used to have more than 10%. Now with tariff, we could be in negative, So as HR, we also have to be very ahead of the time to check on the company situation and come up with different proposals, ways of working, and to make our process more efficient and more cost effective and time effective as well. Yeah.
Okay. And is AI impacting you at all at the moment with HR? And if so, how is it impacting you?
AI, I will say for HR is our minion. It helps us a lot. Even drafting a communication memo, it becomes faster. This really helpful to make work more efficient. But in another hand, is some part of the AI could be affecting some of I see the clients, they could be cutting down the headcounts. Yeah, so this will be affecting the employees themselves. Of course, now I'm doing consultancy, I will be happy because you got more transactions to work on. But if you put in another shoes of the employees, it's quite like a sad case for the employees that they are losing the job because the enhancement of automation, robotic, and AI in the processes that now we do not depend so much on human. I've been seeing like some of the companies cutting down like 1,000 more people overnight because of the AI. Yeah.
What is your vision of the future of work? So maybe future of work and future of HR. If you look at 10 years from now, 2030, 35, how do you see HR evolving and maybe organizations as well? Knowing the current pace, AI has been accelerating things quite a bit. It's just since November 2022, so we are not even at 3 years in, and it's already quite fast. So it's a bit hard to project ourselves long into the future, but do you have any beliefs of what things are going to become?
As a HR personnel, I've been seeing this transformation for almost more than 3 decades. That even though like during that, when I just started to work, a lot of people also got the fear of automation or systemize of the processes. I used to like the person that using DOS. Can you imagine the DOS system? So later I improved to Windows. Then only slowly that nothing without window, nothing, all go to cloud. All these stages, right? Also being like hearing here and there, people got the fear that losing job. But however, throughout all the decades, also not much losing jobs physically in the HR department itself. Because you still as a department, you're dealing with people. The machine can't speak like a human. The machine can't know that, oh, okay, today my colleague is not really in good mood. Yeah, I have to like maybe have a chance to talk, find an opportunity to talk to her, personally. But all these AI may not be able to detect. Yeah, in fact, for HR department, I will find that we are like more like taking all these enhancements as our friends to improve our work, become more efficient, to make our department more automation. It helps a lot. But also no matter how that enhancement, the automation happens, you still need a human to validate as well the results. It's just like some of the forms that we have RPA to fill up for us. Yeah, the few thousand forms. But end of the day, the next day, when we go back to the office, you still need 2 analysts to go through all the fields randomly. Then only we can do the submission. Yeah, sometimes they still have 1 or 2% with the mistakes. So all this, I would say that AI is helping us to have more work-life balance. That is what the new generation we are like looking for. But at the same time, that I would say that it's not so much like fear that you will be losing, because AI also created by human. How that the AI works also, we are the one that teaching them how to work much better. But they can't replace you with human touch as a HR department. I would say in the future, the HR department will only become more efficient. It's more like able to align our roles and responsibilities clearly and form the policies like faster and more organized, rather than to like now. Yeah, sometimes when we have new startup, you will struggle. Different locations will have different format. You can't like align instantly. But when AI is in place moving forward, you can just dump the same content and you can churn out different policies for different locations easily. Yeah, whereby it's currently we are struggling to standardize it. So it's only eventually help more.
Okay. And should HR drive the AI adoption according to you? Should it be the CTO? Should it be someone else in the company? Where do you locate the rollout of AI?
It's everybody's responsibility to drive AI, because it is not something that is like threatening so much, because we really need it nowadays. We can't be like work as like previously without AI, without RPA, without automation, and fill out form manually. So we need all these, because the AI will fill up the form for you, and you are doing more high quality work. You are just doing checking. So that's why I will find that regardless which department, is also can be initiated by yourself. Not necessarily that has to be from the CTO. The CTO could be like enhance the AI from their perspective. But for the operations wise or business leaders wise or different operations team, they should know more than the CTO where and which part that they need AI to improve their life and improve the processes that to support the business like smartly and efficiently. Yeah.
Got it. I was asking you earlier about ByteDance. So for me, you were in two organizations that I know. I don't know all the different companies you worked with, but ByteDance and Facebook, I know a little bit more. At least I can understand their culture a bit more than the other ones because they're software. What can other industries learn from what ByteDance and Facebook do in terms of HR? And what can the software companies like ByteDance and Facebook learn from what the other companies are doing? So more like the low tech versus high tech. Are there things that each type of company can learn from each other in terms of best practices?
Among companies, they can always learn from each other. For Facebook, there are ahead of many companies in the social media. Of course, then they got a lot of efficient way, like even that the meetings within the companies cannot be more than 30 minutes. Yeah, all the rooms we only can book only for 30 minutes. And then meetings that more than 30 minutes that it could be considered inefficient. All of us that when we attend a meeting, we already know that the agenda and what is the roles and responsibilities of you that participate in the meeting itself. I believe you go to a lot of companies or sometimes you attend a lot of like clients meeting, you may not know what exactly that this meeting is all about, but Facebook itself is very efficient. All of us know our responsibilities very well. And even some of those like certain policies that it could be like in other companies may go through like many rounds of meetings, but in Facebook it's just one meeting, 30 minutes, we can conclude the entire policy and just go live and execute. That's it. And in terms of ByteDance, I would say it's a fast-growing company and we make decision and we make like approval fast. We don't drag the approvals as long as you can justify all the benefits, the savings or the saving in terms of cost, of effort, that can be approved like easily. Because the company is like, we can't wait, some of the processes you can't wait for months to approve because you will never be able to support the business anymore. I'm not sure about other companies, how fast that they make this two like best practices. But of course, to learn from other companies, maybe I would say the other way around. Maybe some of the companies that they could be like already have a lot of, how do I say? This one is very hard because I never worked with like other companies with before that. So hard to comment because they are already like very efficient. So
Okay.
these are the two things that I observe that maybe some of the companies can like really learn from these two.
Okay. One of the struggles, at least in the region, but I think it's globally, HR has been historically not so powerful at the C level. Like basically when decisions are made, HR tends to be more an executor or an implementer more than a strategic driver of the decision. Would you agree with that statement? Do you think HR doesn't have so much power at the decision-making table? Or do you think it's totally fine? First, let's start with that. Where do you think is HR at the moment in terms of power?
In terms of power, especially nowadays, I'm dealing with like a lot of public listed companies. I will find that they really respect HR and they don't see HR lightly compared to old days. Yeah, HR could be like just a voice of the employer. But nowadays that because of ESG is also in place. So for HR, most of the time that we play a lot of vital role is in the social, the S itself, because the social responsibilities that is not only to ensure your employees with work-life balance, but you also have to ensure that each important key roles in the organization, you have the respective succession planning in place. Yeah, we also do not want to see like any of the public listed companies when you work with suddenly overnight the CEO, you have to change the CEO, but you couldn't find the replacement of the CEO in another 3 to 6 months. This will be like really a huge impact to a company that especially for the share markets and the trust from the board as well. That's where that HR is very important to ensure that the companies always have the right people at the right roles and at any point of time that be able to have the successor. And the successor must be also like as and when put in the role to have a role play to ensure that they can pick it up immediately if anything happened for the company. And apart from that, the social part also we talk about for HR to execute is also to make sure employees with their respective learning and development opportunities. A lot of the time that you hear about like people left the company is not because of the company, it's because of the manager. Why? Because they don't find that they've been respected or they've been given the equal opportunity. That's why the HR have to make sure all these like social issues within the companies that being like encounter and also make sure it's a healthy working place. Everybody got the equal opportunity. We talk about DEI. They also is the person that safekeeper, the gatekeeper of DEI to make sure that all the roles, all the responsibilities of the employees equally that designed for the role itself and the opportunity, whatever for promotions also being given and consider it fairly. That's why it's nowadays that you can't have the C-level without considering HR point of views and also chat with HR for some of the policies that you want to execute.
So ESG is the driver. So why would companies want to implement ESG? Is it a compliance problem? Is it a marketing problem? Why are they doing it?
It's a compliance program for public listed company. You do have KPIs to fulfill. Yeah.
On the ESG side, you have to focus
especially
on
the environmental. Yeah, they do have a strong KPI. But in the social part that is still like sustainability side is still not that strong. That's why the HR have to drive this part. Because the sustainability social part is a part that dealing with human. Yeah, dealing with your people. And without the people, who will drive the E and who will drive the G? There's no one. That's why it's still very important is the S. Yeah.
Cool. What drove you to do more HR? Why do you keep working in that field?
This is really in my DNA that I like to communicate. And I also like to put things that in a proper manner. That's why the HR always have to like come up with the proper policies. When you design the policies, you also make sure that it can be executed and it's balanced. And it's not only one-sided, just like favorite to the companies without taking care of the people. Now we also talked about we have to measure employees' experience. We have to make sure that the companies got the organizational development, healthy scoring for the employee pulse survey. All these dealing with human is very interesting responsibilities. And the community that also is run by all the people like us. You can't without people that a company can be successful. That's where I look at it like human resource is like, it's a heartbeat of any of the organization. You can't have an excellent product because it's all like manufactured or processed by human. Yeah, you also cannot achieve your goals if all your employees are not being aligned, that the goals together with you. That's why it's a key to me.
Got it. What's one belief you had about HR at the beginning of your career that you've changed your mind about over the years?
Well, it's really so much different. When I joined HR, it's not called HR department. It's called personnel department. Yeah, then it is like slowly evolved that changed to human capital, human management, then only slowly changed to human resource. And nowadays, some of the tech company even call it as people department. During old days, right, when I started with my first HR job, I was using typewriter, Matt. I think many of you have not seen what is typewriter also, how to change the ribbon of the typewriter, how to change the color.
Dr. Becky, I'm not going to say you're lying, but it's very hard to believe you when I see you because you look very young. So imagining you with a typewriter, it sounds like a joke. Sorry. Hard to believe, but yeah.
Oh, thank you for your compliment. I will take it as compliment. Then slowly, then only we got an electrical typewriter. I was so happy with the electrical typewriter because you can you can type all like one whole paragraph and you press return, then everything will come out. Rather than typewriter, each key that you type is you have to put in so much effort, very tiring to finish one letter. Those days that is really different. When you ask me about the personnel department, we involve with a lot of manual work. even fill up all the forms, even like salary calculation. We don't have Excel during those days. We only have Lotus 123. And all the payslip is really through dot metric printer. So the dot metric printer, after printing like 100 pages, you need to adjust the alignment because too heavy. So the alignment just ran. Yeah. So
Oh
you
my
have
God.
adjusted. So those days and all
Why
the
did you
communication.
stay in this job?
Those was the day when you're in HR, right? Personnel department, you have to do from A to Z. There's no HR strategic role like COE. There's no like operations separated. There's no HR VP. All this that you are seeing nowadays all belongs to one department called personnel department. You are the one that hire people in. You're the one that issue warning letter. You're the one that fire people. You're the one that doing their payroll. You're the one that insured them. Everything you do it. And during those days, personnel department will come with administration department. You have to cover admin as well. So very manual. All the communication sometimes, right? You do not have like proper channel. You have to really send out memo and you have to paste a memo in the public area so that everyone read it. Let's say declare the holidays that 15 is September is the additional holiday from Malaysia. Some of the locations may not get it. So you have to make sure, that you send the email. Luckily still email working to the respective like office admin clerk to make sure they print it out and paste it at the memo board. Those were the days. That's why nowadays you ask me, if I don't use AI, I find that is really, I'm not making sense. Because I work very hard those days. And nowadays, so easily you press a button, you can send to everyone in the world itself. Why not? You're
And
not
we
using it.
complain. And we complain about how difficult it is today.
Exactly. Can you imagine? I have to make sure I got enough A4 paper. I have to make sure I have enough dot metric printing papers, those carbonized paper. Those were
Crazy.
the days.
It's actually funny that you had this experience of life and at the same time ByteDance in the same lifestyle, in the same lifespan. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's why we evolve so much. We are the generation that we are seeing the most manual part of the world and being like go into window. When the first window coming out, everybody's so excited because we come from like dot matrix world to window. Suddenly, you now got cloud, To us that we really well accept all those changes because we can see the benefit to our life. Because we've gone through, you never imagine I have to go to the factory floor to segregate memo. Just worried they couldn't get it, for the additional public holiday.
Can I ask you one thing? So I feel your energy is very adaptable. So I feel you like whatever comes, you do it. No problem. I feel you very yin in that sense, like surrender to life but like going with the flow, water kind of energy. Is there anything as an influencer? Because I still met you, we were on stage at KSI and you're big, right? You work with big companies. What are the things you're trying to influence in the community at the moment? What are the things that you're trying to push? And so less water, less yin, more yang, and more like manifesting the world of tomorrow. What do you believe in that you want to see change?
It's very important that don't give up in any single opportunities that when there is a change. When some like companies roll out a change, announce for a change, everybody go for a transformation, just be open mind and welcome it and do it. Of course, I wouldn't say that all changes will be a successful change, but along the way, you also have to be able to have your own belief and justify this change is beneficial or not. If it is not, it's important as a HR person, you need to voice it out. Yeah. Apart from voicing it out, you also need to come up with your justification why you don't feel that is right. So shall we have further discussion? Shall we analyze it further without going to the wrong path? That is something that I find that maybe could be nowadays that everybody's so easy life. Anything I don't know, I ask ChatGPT. But sometimes you need to have your own judgment to pull the plug and analyze, stop and analyze and find out whether is it workable or not workable. Because especially as a leader, I'm leading a big team. When I don't feel comfortable, I also cannot convince myself that to get the team go together with me. I have to pause. I have to really work with other stakeholders that shall we have a discussion before we move ahead again. Because there is something that I can feel the risk. not only to my team, it could be to other downstream of the processes as well. We don't work alone for HR. We work with a lot of departments. So that's something that I find that as a leader, you do have the kind of like senses to make it happen.
How do you have the difficult conversation when the CEO, let's say, has a strategy that you don't really want to implement because you know things are not going to work on the ground? How do you have this conversation in a skillful way, so that your feedback has an impact and it's not just voicing your feedback, but then, we'll still do it again. We'll still do it anyway because you didn't convince them.
A lot of the time I have these challenges, especially when I first joined like Chinese company from all the Western companies. I didn't join Chinese company. So different culture and different ways of communications and ways of working as well. So what I really do that, firstly, I do my homework. I really analyze the pro and cons and also give different proposal. And different proposals also got the pro and cons. And I will leave it to them to pick the best options. But I really let them know the risk for option A will be this, B, and C. And they pick up, let's say, one of the options, and then they may want to like further zoom in, get more information. Only then I will work on it. Because rather than you work so hard, at the end, they didn't pick any of the options. Yeah. So I would say that be prepared. Yeah, you have to do your homework. There's no shortcut, especially talking to the top management. Because end of the day, you have to understand that for them, it's still the revenue. And also the company's sustainability is a key for them. So we can't like simply propose something and without justification, without like clear options, benefits or pro and cons for them to take a look and make the decision. Yeah.
Got it. How do you balance being a people advocate with being a business partner? So being on the side of the employee at the same time as being on the side of the company, how do you balance the two?
For HR, you have to wear a lot of hats, As the times goes by. Yeah, sometimes that certain policies, I would say that certain policies when we execute, if I really find that it is not really beneficial to the employees, I will really voice it out. Somehow, for instance, I've been seeing like some of like, for instance, like a termination. For certain countries, when you want to terminate someone, if the employee already fulfill like 10 years tenure with a company, the employer contribution for the provident fund can be exempted for tax. When knowing that from the business unit, they want to terminate someone already like 9 years, 11 months, and few days to 10 years, I will really let them know, why not you wait until 10 years only you terminate this employee, even though that I know this employee is not working, but anyhow, this employee is already 10 years with us already. Why not just do the best that as a good employee as you can, even as the last moment you want to terminate this employee. This is the part that I will like balance it up. And in terms of companies, sometimes you look at like, of course, in the talent acquisition, a lot of the time you will see like some of the employees, like candidates very demanding. You have to really bring up all the respective facts that how our practices to fair to all the employees in terms of hiring to the candidate. If really the candidate is so demanding that we can't like ban because of one person, how good is a candidate? We sometimes also have to let go, because otherwise that you get someone, but is breaking, the trust of all the other employees is no point. Yeah. That's how that we have to like balance out and look at like different scenario to play our role. Yeah.
You are in two organizations that are supporting board of directors. Is there any proportion of companies who select directors that are ex-HR versus others? Because you can choose the composition of your board. How many of the boards in Malaysia are more geared towards HR? Are there many HR professionals on the boards of companies?
Actually, yes. Most of the PLCs, they do have someone with HR background. But of course, mostly if you ask me, from the finance and legal background. It's very much that picking up the board members are very much that also you have to know that how this board member will bring some like different, not to say revenue, to bring like something like the governance, better governance for the companies, or better reputation for the company, or can be a good brand for the company. Yeah. So it's very much that it's like a matrix. You can't have like all accountants as your board. You also cannot have all legal as a board. So you need to balance up. Some of the organizations I've been seeing, they have HR. They also got people from business development joining them. Yeah, they also got politicians in the board. It's depending that it's the dynamic itself to make it like a successful board. Yeah.
Got it. And maybe one thing, maybe I should have brought it up earlier in the conversation. The question is really, if you look high-performing organizations versus lower-performing organizations, or even like good, decent, but not the high-performing ones, what are the patterns you've identified throughout your career? And if they're driven by HR, even better, but they don't have to.
The high-performing and the good organization, normally they have one thing that's very common among the companies is they really have very clear policies that they take care of their employees. Yeah, and they also have the ethics team that for employees to raise their voice, that or whistleblowers, the channel for employees that to bring it out. Whereby compared to those companies that lower performing or always with employees issues companies, they don't have this channel. They tend to be like the founder or the top management is the one that driving the company's policies, and without really ensure this policy can be grounded. Yeah, and they also got micromanagement. Compared to high-performing companies, you can't be like having Mark Zuckerberg, micromanage all the team members down the way. That it doesn't work. It has to be like really you trust your team members that everyone that will be able to execute the CEO's like the vision, mission and make it happen. If compared to those companies that got micromanaged, that sometimes the more they drive and the more that the present employees, that especially for the younger generation nowadays, as we share in KSI, Gen Z, all those like, they can't take this kind of, you're watching behind of me for all steps I'm working on. To them, that the first thing, they don't find that you trust them. So sooner or later, you can see all these companies will have like very high attrition and also very low like employee morale. Actually, one of the companies I'm consulting, they're having these challenges. That's why first thing I need to work with is working with the managing director, that to really give him the coaching, that how you have to step back a bit rather than to micromanage. You cannot have all your managers reporting to you every day. It doesn't work. It has to be trust. You only meet them once a week. That will be like better than every day. After 5, only you start meeting everyone. Yeah. So that's a difference. Yeah.
And any myth that you see are still prevailing about high performance that organizations still believe, but it's still a myth and it's not true?
And something that I would say, the myth is like, they always find that the boss can do all the things by themselves, rather than they trust other -1 or other departments or work closely with HR. Yeah.
So control problems.
Yes.
Yes.
They should be in the business control department.
Cool. Yeah, maybe you have loads of experience, and I was not joking when you said on stage, I have 30 years of experience. I looked at my colleague, we were like, there's no way. But yeah, you do say that, so I'm going to trust your word. Out of those 30 years of experience, for the people who are younger HR professionals, maybe they are aspiring leaders, what recommendation do you have for them?
I think that the recommendation for this, like young HR practitioners, is like, I know a lot of them that they're not doing operations. They're more on strategic HR. They're more on HR BP. And frankly speaking, that why I'm able to gain like all the operations, strategic wise, implementations wise kind of experience, even the system architectural, is because I'm working from the operations side. Only when you work on operations, you are the one that will be able to read through all the policies, and you will be able to identify in terms which policy, which clause is not grounded. You have to bring it up to the respective COE to really redesign it to make it workable, executable. And from time to time, can you imagine 30 over years I'm working on this, right? You become the expert also. You can even write all policies, easily. You will be able to make sense, that to do compensation and benefits alignment easily because you're dealing with it like for decades. Yeah, so that's why I find that the younger professional, don't be like hesitate when you're working in operations. You find operations could be like a level lower than the HRBP or COE. It is not. In fact, this is the fundamental platform for you to grow and to develop your solid knowledge.
What you propose as a next step is super hard. I need to challenge you on that. I'm happy with the recommendation, but how do you start? Because no one can get those 30 years in a heartbeat. Where do we start? And if you have little time, how do you make it faster? How do you accelerate that journey of understanding all the different pieces? Because it's a lot, like what you've done through your career.
There's a lot.
But that expertise is really important. So how do you fasten that process of gaining that expertise? Yeah.
You should work on operations. Start with the payroll and benefits operations. That's where when you touch on employee experience, you will be very alert. Why certain policies that designed nicely by the COE, but to employees, when you need to execute it itself, right, it doesn't make sense to employees. Or even when you launch it, employee will voice it out because they just couldn't get it. Then how are you going to pay me? You put it so high level for achieving this percentage. Well, but sometimes I cross month. Then I got this commission. Are you putting it as separate month or you put it as like previous month? Yeah, all those questions will come out. But just because you're not the executor, you never think of it from the employee's perspective.
So start with the payslip.
Yeah, you have to do your hands basically. There's no shortcut. So I would say the payroll is the best department that for you to be like start with. Yeah, but I know a lot of them, they don't like it. But that is where I gain all the experience.
Yeah, at some point during the podcast, you said there are no shortcuts. So sometimes you just can't be easy. Sometimes you need to do the hard work in order to gain the experience. And also, if everyone is feeling that it's too hard or to give up, it gives you a competitive advantage versus the rest of the HR. If you didn't do the payroll, if they didn't do the payroll and you do it, then you have this advantage. Cool, Dr. Becky, thank you so much.